Hi everyone, it's John from What Up and welcome back to another video. This will be my review video for Episode 7, The Dark Along the Ways of Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show. Like my other review videos, I'm doing this in two parts. The first part will be completely spoiler-free, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, you're completely free to watch. I'm not going to ruin anything for you. Then I'll give you folks a spoiler warning and dive into specifics after that. So, if you're new to the channel and you don't know what I do here, I cover Wheel of Time show news. So breakdowns, castings, rumors, leaks, any kind of releases from the production team, I cover that here. And I'm also doing a ton of Wheel of Time content for every episode they release. Reviews, Easter eggs, parents' guides, you name it, we do it here. So much so that I'm doing 1 to 2 videos every single day. So if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you click that button. Your subscriptions help me to make more content. And I really enjoy what I'm doing. So if you folks want to help me out, just subscribe to the channel and watch what I do. That's all I ask for. So now we're going to talk just a bit about this particular episode. Give you my numbers first. This episode, 9 out of 10. 9.5 out of 10. We'll go 9.5 out of 10, and we'll talk about why it lost that little bit of a points, like half a point for me. But my favorite episode, by a long shot so far of the entire season. I don't know what else to say other than that. So if you hear nothing else, you know it's my favorite, and we'll talk about why when I get to the spoiler section. But the first section we'll talk about is going to be the settings. So the sets themselves, the outdoor locations, top-notch. A few people have complained that some of the sets have felt cramped throughout the entire series so far. I didn't get that feeling whatsoever in this episode. A lot of the sets felt much bigger than they actually were. And again, when we get to the spoiler section, I'll talk about why I think that is. Even though they are small. So a lot of this was done in a soundstage. I couldn't tell for a lot of it. They did a really good job. The acting. The acting in this particular episode was top-notch. I thoroughly enjoyed Daniel Henney and Zoe Robbins' interactions in this episode. They stole the show as far as I was concerned. Really fantastic. Again, Hammond Animation is loyal whenever he was on screen. Just absolutely phenomenal. I can't say much else without spoiling things, but the acting, just in particular in this episode, was really, really well done. I can't think of a single person who didn't do a good job. Lord Eldmar, played by Thomas Chihing, Sandra, who plays Lady Annalisa, even Uno, played by Guy Roberts, who had less than a minute of screen time. As soon as I saw him, I got super excited because it's Uno, and he channeled Uno. And I may be a little biased because he does look a lot like me. I may be a bit prettier, but we won't go there. But yeah, no, the acting, top-notch in this particular episode. Then we're going to talk about the special effects and the VFX. Again, this particular episode, it's almost like they saved all of the money and they're throwing it at the last two episodes because this one, the channeling was top-notch. The special effects that they had to add into it, top-notch. The creatures, top-notch. The CGI they used, I have one complaint about it, and I can't talk about it. I can't really talk about it until we get to the spoiler section, but I have one complaint about the CGI. And if you folks have seen Twilight and that Twilight baby, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the only thing that I have complained about. Again, we'll talk about that more. That's why this whole episode lost half a point, in my opinion. Yeah, no. Other than that one scene where they really botched the special effects up, everything was fantastic. Now, the story, the pacing, the plot, we're going to talk about that now. The pacing in this particular episode, perfect. In my opinion, they did the proper amount of talking about the characters, progressing the characters. It felt the most like the Wheel of Time to me because a whole lot of the Wheel of Time books are talking about the characters, progressing characters, very little action until you get to the action. And of course, in this particular episode, there was a little bits of action here and there, but they're mostly interspersed with character development, and it was really good. I liked it. The only complaint I have is that they edited too much out of the episode, and that's the same complaint I have about every single one of these episodes. We have promotional material that showcases the trefoil leaf. Fane had it in his hands, but it did not make it into the episode. There's a few other little tidbits here and there that probably would have progressed the story a bit better if they were kept in, that we know they filmed, and we've seen little tidbits of them here and there from the production team. But again, even without them, this one is probably the most watchable out of all the episodes so far when it comes to pacing. Again, the editing team stepped it up here. They still cut too much, but way better than the rest of them. Now we're going to talk about deviations from the story and stuff. We'll talk about that in the spoiler section because, of course, it doesn't account for any of my scoring, but I have to talk about the episode to get into the spoilers. So, Again, my score 9.5 out of 10. The only parts of the episode that it lost points for were one particular scene where it had really terrible CGI and small issues with the pacing where they should have kept maybe even another 2 or 3 minutes of footage in there would have helped out a lot, in my opinion. All right, so now we're going to get into the spoiler section. Give you folks a chance who haven't seen the episode yet to take off. Spoiler warning! In this part of the video, we're going to talk about Episode 7 of Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show, The Dark Along the Ways, with full spoilers. So if you have not seen the episode, be forewarned, I'm ruining everything in this episode, and we're going to talk about all the things that happened in it. All right, so now we can talk about it with full spoilers. We can basically say whatever we want. Random Orient go to the Blight at the end. We'll start out with that. So the settings, the soundstage that they filmed a lot of these things in, when people say they felt cramped, I think what they meant is a lot of the sets and stuff for the entire show consisted of one small room. So when you were in the inns, different things like that, they seemed very small. This particular episode, you're in the Ways. That soundstage the film Ways on was about the size of a football field. So not really huge when you factor in all the equipment and the gear and the things they're doing in there, plus all of the things they built for it. And I've seen behind-the-scenes pictures of it, like leaks rather, of the Ways, and there's really not a lot of room there. But they did such a good job making it feel vast by pulling out from the shots and having everything in blackness all around it, and little tidbits of other, bridges and pieces of Ways in the background. They did a good job of making that feel much bigger than it was. Fall Dara, the ceilings themselves, those got to be 30-foot ceilings, 40-foot ceilings. They're massive. That set looked phenomenal, and it felt way bigger than it was. Even when they were in the inn or the bar or whatever you want to call it, when they're talking with Min, that felt much bigger. The shots were framed much better than a lot of the other episodes. So everything felt bigger, even though really these sets are no bigger than we've seen so far. So again, fantastic job there. Again, we're going to talk about the acting. Top notch. I said it before, Daniel Henney and Zoe Robbins stole the show in this particular episode. They were really, really good. I loved all the scenes between them. I loved how real it felt. Blew me away. I don't know what else to say. I like Zoe Robbins as Nynaeve anyway, but Daniel Henney really stepped it up a notch here. Now, some people are going to have problems with this because they see Lan as a completely stone-faced, stoic character, and that's all he has. In the books, when he's around Nynaeve, he melts. He is his whole visage softens, and what we're seeing here is we're seeing things either from Nynaeve's perspective or from Lan's perspective, and either one of them, if it's Nynaeve seeing Lan, she's going to see him as a soft individual because she has feelings for him and she loves him. And Lan, same thing with Nynaeve. He's going to be more of himself. So, again, I really like the way they acted this. I loved it. Now we're going to get on to special effects and VFX. This is the first part where this episode loses that half point. And that is, you folks probably know I mentioned the Twilight baby. When Tam pulls off his helmet and they de-aged him, that was terrible. It really did not work. It kind of looked like he had really botched plastic surgery. It was really bad. Whether that was practical effects or special effects or VFX or whatever they did, whether it was CG or real, it was not done well. Now, generally, de-aging is either done really well or not well at all. So in the X-Men movies, when they de-aged Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, they didn't do a good job. It was horrible. This is much the same. Maybe slightly better than that, but much the same. As soon as I saw his face, I was like, that's the baby from Twilight. It's really bad. So again, that's where this episode lost part of the value for me. The other part is pacing. Again, they didn't lose much for pacing in this episode because the episode itself worked really well. It did. However, there are a ton of questions that are being asked by either non-book readers and book readers alike. Why are certain things happening this way? Why is this happening this way? And the whole season we've been doing this, and the answers we're getting is, well, maybe the next episode will explain it. Maybe the next. And we're getting small explanations. In this particular episode, we have more than a few, but there's still some questions. So how did Fane get through the Ways? Can he channel? I've heard that from a few different people. No, he can't. We've seen in promotional material he has a trefoil leaf, and that is a big thing from the book series where that's the only way to open the Ways. One power isn't used. But we know that there's two ways now. You can use the one power or you can use the trefoil leaves, and any regular person can do it, and he has one. But we've seen pictures of it that were released as bonuses and extras. But again, those scenes, even a minute of them, would have explained so much for the show and made it flow so better. I really hope at some point they give us a director's cut or a showrunner's cut where we see all of these extra deleted scenes kind of thrown in, because it would make the show, A, make way more sense, and B, flow so much better, and I would enjoy it so much more. And I know there's a lot of the people that feel the same way. Now, the last thing we'll talk about here in the spoiler section, of course, is going to be the differences from the book. There are some massive differences from the book. The story itself, though, I think it works really well. This particular episode did a really good job of setting up the Borderlands. There are some major character changes. So, Lord Eldmar, huge changes to his character. He seemed much more arrogant, much more he knows what he's doing and no one else does than in the books. Changes to Lady Annalisa, she can channel now. She trained at the White Tower, and she at least made it to Accepted, we believe. Big changes to Moiraine and Rand are going to the Blight all by themselves. However, the way the episode flowed with the other episodes, the way it's written, again, stands on its own. Major changes, but I think this particular episode did a fantastic job telling the story, because there was so much character development, so much interaction between them, that a lot of things got explained, and you felt more for these characters than you did perhaps in maybe a few other episodes where they were kind of left alone. And I like the fact that Rand got way more screen time in this episode than any other episode, because let's face it, up to this point, he's sort of felt like a throwaway character, and now he is the central point. Maureen's still the main character of the show, because it's Rosamund Pike, of course. However, Rand is much more focal central point now, and I like that. All right, so let me know what you folks think down below in the comments. I want to know what you thought of this episode. Personally, for me, 9.5 out of 10. My favorite episode, bar none. This one is the top of the pack, and I hope number 8 even surpasses that. Thanks so much for sticking with me here to the very end. Here's to many more.